Go ahead.
Greetings. I'm Elton Brewington from Discover Brightside, and I'm so happy to have on our podcast today, Mr. Dave Borghesani. And I just really need to thank you, Dave, for being with us. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the significant historical facts and data that you bring to our podcast. It's amazing, when you think about chocolate and its historical value in our culture. I'm inspired or excited about the prospect of wow, all these years, and chocolate has played such a favorable role in our culture, and the value of our culture has been so amazing. As a matter of fact, if you did the math, chocolate probably has just as powerful of an impact as alcohol.
Mm.
And it's quite intoxicating. From the standpoint of how it inspires us, and whoa. Now, in your work, I'm sure, and very rarely, I believe, that people who consume chocolate on a regular basis do they stop to think of the power of this article in our culture and the power of today with chocolate. So you must be. I mean, so what are you? You travel probably all over the world, I'm sure, right?
Well, I travel domestically, but I travel all over North America, so it's quite fun for different reasons, right? Ellen? So
Uh,
it could be anything from speaking to groups to talking to students
okay.
to doing demonstrations, kind of explaining and showing how early chocolate was made. And I love to tell, just like I'm doing here, the history of chocolate, but little pieces we're talking about today, and there's so much more. But people are fascinated by the story because, to your point, while we enjoy chocolate on a regular basis and we eat it, how much more fun is it when you know that there are fantastic stories behind something like chocolate that bring it to life, right? It's not just something I eat, it's something that has stories around it. And that's what makes all these thousands of years worth of history so exciting. And I think why people enjoy it so much too.
Mm. Well, I'm sitting here thinking about that, and it made me think that wow, wouldn't it be great that every significant moment of your life can be hallmarked or stamped with a moment of chocolate?
Yeah.
And what that could mean for us that way. I mean, you have a baby, they give cigars, but they really should give chocolate.
I agree with you on that, Elton. I think it's a great thing. We should do that starting now.
Yeah, absolutely. We can start that. You and me, we can start a whole profile to that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, how do we project the values of the culture, of the image of our culture in a way that's just historical? I mean, can you imagine the two presidents sit and sign a treaty and share a piece of chocolate?
And it wasn't far from that too, because we know that these famous people like George Washington, as I mentioned too,
Uh-huh.
they had chocolate with them. George Washington always had chocolate with him at Mount Vernon. He
Is
shared
that
it with
right?
his guests.
Really?
Matter of fact, one of the interesting things is there's a book that you can purchase or read. It's called Dining with the Washingtons.
Okay.
It's recipes that come from Mount Vernon, and
Uh-huh.
one of them is about a chocolate cream. And this
Okay.
recipe talks about chocolate cream, which is, again, delicious chocolate blended with a little bit of milk or dairy, a little bit of vanilla, and sometimes spices. And the Washingtons often served it for breakfast to their guests.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That could be amazing. And you've pleasured us with so many different articles. And I'm sitting here thinking now, wow, I can't wait to try the hot chocolate drink.
Good.
Big fan of hot chocolate. Just before we move completely out of winter, well, we're in spring now, but it's okay. I think I might be able to get away with it. But wow, I mean, so your presence presents an enormous benefit, and I really, really appreciate you. And I want to really chime on into the evaluation, what it could mean, and I like being a part of your organization. And if you'll give us some concessions and considerations that way, I think we can do some great things. Looking
All
forward to
right.
that.
So
I hope
El just
so.
brought up some good points for the podcast. If you, as a viewer, are watching this interview, take a photo of a chocolate moment that you absolutely love and remember with your. I know for me, my family for Thanksgiving used to love hot chocolate with dominoes. We had to play a game and we'd compete. We played games all the time. But so tell us a story that you can relate to and share a photo with us. So as we get ready for our 250 years celebration, we want some historic chocolate stories to share. And Dave, we're going to pick on you because we're going to need some stories to share with our audience about the history of chocolate. So thank you for this interview, and we will be right back. Would you like to share one last story with us before I close?
One fun story I'll tell you about one of our brands at Mars is the Milky Way bar. You may have had a Milky Way
Yeah.
bar, right,
Yes,
Elizabeth?
Uh-huh.
Belton, right? So actually, the Milky Way bar is the first bar that the Mars family made that had commercial success. It actually was developed in 1923, but the reason it came about was because one of our owners, Forrest Mars Jr., or Forrest Mars Sr., excuse me, was having a malted milk drink with his father, Frank Mars. Frank was running the company at the time, and they were enjoying his delicious malted chocolate drink. And Forrest said to his father, he said, Dad, why don't you make a candy bar that tastes like this drink? So Mr. Mars had the idea. I'm going to combine chocolate. I'm going to combine caramel, and I'm going to make a delicious malt drink out of this too. So he combined them all together. He knew they'd be popular with people at that time, and he made a candy bar called the Milky Way bar. But Milky Way is not named after the galaxy. It's named after this popular malt beverage that was served at this time in different restaurants and all over the country. The Milky Way bar. Today, over 100 years later, it's still one of America's favorite.
Yeah, that sounds like a
Wow.
great story.
Mm-hmm.
Just adding a flavor like malt to chocolate. Yes, the Milky Bar, who doesn't love it? And the Mars Bar, who doesn't love it? So I'm a global citizen, so we've always compared the Mars Bar in London and the
Mhm.
Mars Bar with the Americans. And we've always said, which one do you like? So all my Brit expats, I want you to tell me whether you like your Mars Bar from there or here, which one? And so, yeah, we love the stories. And I think we could just go on talking forever about chocolate. I would have like 100 stories to talk about. Um, so I think you've actually answered a childhood question that I've had about the American chocolate because it's always different from around the world because of the sugar levels. And so I think thank you for being so authentic with American heritage, and thank you for being so real and keeping a history that's lasted so long. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, with that note, send us photos, tell us stories. We want to know all the chocolate stories. So thank you so much. You know,